Welcome to Simmons Says, where I help emerging and struggling writers create intriguing plots and compelling characters to make their stories hard to put down and even harder to forget. Welcome to episode 4 of Simmons Says, and this one is about story structure. Now, when I work with my students, I tend to teach them certain tools, and I have often said to them, like any other tool, like Home Depot or whatever, you find the tools that work for you. You're going to see a selection of tools, but you're going to find the ones that work for you, the hammer that fits well, the saw that works for you, the drill, whatever. You want to find the tools that actually serve you. What works for me may not work for you, but I'm going to share these with you anyway. And these are basics, okay? Story structure. So a lot of people like to think, okay, I have an idea. I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to start writing and just discover the story as I go along. And that's sort of what we call writing by the seat of your pants, right? You have an idea of what the story is about and where you think it's going to go and how you think it's going to end, and you just start writing. The idea being that you'll keep writing until you finish it. That works for some writers. It does. And it's sort of like just jumping out into the wilderness and seeing what happens. But for a number of writers, it doesn't work because if they have no idea where they're going, or when they get stuck, how to get out of that place, like getting lost on a trip. How do I find my way back to the main highway, the road I want, the path I need? If you can't find it, then you're lost. Then you sort of give up. With writing, a lot of people will give up, and that becomes that unfinished poem, song, story that's sitting on your shelf for 13 years and collecting dust. So let's talk about the different structures that are available. Now, every story has these three components: beginning, middle, and end. Okay? Story starts somewhere, moves along, and eventually concludes. Now, how do you get from beginning to the middle to the end? Depends on your methodologies and how you structure the tale you're trying to tell. We can look at it in terms of three acts. It's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, beginning, middle, and end. Act 1, we introduce the characters, we introduce the world, that means the setting in which your story is taking place, and we introduce the conflict. What does our character want that they're going to have trouble obtaining? Or who does our character have to go against? Protagonist, antagonist? Or what is the thing they're struggling with that they have to overcome? Okay, so that's Act 1: characters, world, conflict. Once we initiate the conflict, the character now goes against it, is trying to overcome it or whatever. Now we are building suspense, and we're into Act 2, where we see the character struggle. That's right. If it's a short film in particular, maybe it's an upsetting relationship between two people, and we've met them, we've seen the world in which they exist, we've gotten a sense of what the conflict is, and now we see them challenged by it and struggling to deal with it, struggling to overcome it, struggling to work it out. That's Act 2. And it keeps building and building and building. The struggle is getting more heated, more difficult. The distance between the place they are and the place they need to get to seems forever ripe with dangers and challenges. And it's building and building and building. Are they ever going to be able to get this? I don't know that they can until they build to the climax. And the climax tends to come in Act 3, the top of Act 3, or the early part of Act 3. So Act 2 is the longest. Act 3, the climax. Oh my goodness. Whatever it is, it comes to a head. They have the argument, they have the struggle, they have the battle, whatever it is. And it's over. That struggle is over. The challenge is overcome, or the challenge has won. The person has to deal with, where am I now? This is called a resolution. They have to resolve. They have to understand that that part of the story has come to its particular end, whether it's happy, sad, or open-ended, right? So that's your act three, your climax, your resolution, and then your conclusion. The story comes to a close. So act one, character, world, conflict. Act two, the struggle. If you're doing a long story, you can even enter subplot, right? Whatever else is going on in the character's life aside from the main story. And we see the struggle and the building of suspense and challenges and everything until finally, Act three, the climax, the resolution, and the conclusion. Now, that's basically your structure, your three-act structure, your beginning, your middle, and your end. Then there's the beat sheet. Now, the beat sheet takes the three parts, beginning, middle, and end, act one, two, and three, and it breaks it down into 15 individual parts. I'm not going to drive you crazy with all of those parts. I will have a copy of the beat sheet so you can download it and check it out for yourself. But let's just give you an example, okay? We know that in Act 1, we're going to show the character, the world or the setting in which the story takes place, and we're going to introduce the conflict. The beat sheet says for Act 1 or for the beginning of your film, there's your opening frame. Your opening frame is that shot, that opening moment when the audience is looking at the film or they're reading that first portion of your book and you're setting up a tone and an atmosphere. And again, in a film, you're giving us some sort of visual context. So we have a sense of maybe a mood, all right? But that's that opening frame. What is it telling us? What is it informing us about the world, the character, or whatever that we see, right? Then part two is introduce the world. So, like I said, act one, character, and then the world, and then the conflict. So, in the beat sheet, number one is the opening frame, the opening shot. Then introduce the world. So, we get some sort of maybe if it's an average Joe or Jane or Jamal or Shaniqua, it's a little bit of their life. You know, what's their daily life like, or what's this particular moment in their life like? What are they just waking up to go to work or to school or whatever? We see that, right? But now we're also, as we're introduced to the world, we are number three, meeting the characters, right? And we're getting some sense of who they are and how they feel and what's important to them or what their routine is going to be like and all of that sort of thing. And then suddenly, item four on the beat sheet, the catalyst or the inciting incident. This is when we're introduced to a conflict, a challenge. And the moment we take that step, the moment the fuse is lit, now we understand we're up against something or something dramatic is going to happen. And how can this character deal with it? How are they going to gain what they want? What's in their way? This is the inciting incident. We're set up with the conflict and we see this is what the character has to deal with. Maybe we only see a portion of what they have to deal with, but we know this is the challenge. Now, that's just the first four beats of a beat sheet. And that keeps us at that moment in Act One. So, structure, it's basically a map. It's basically saying your story begins here and you want to get to the end of it. How are you going to do that? What route are you going to take? What's going to happen in sequence that gets you from the beginning to the middle to the end? And if you get stuck in the middle, how does this map help you navigate through that messy portion? Now, what it does in effect is it lets you know, okay, I'm stuck here, but I know where I have to go because this and this have to happen in order for me to get to here. So I can maybe just roughly work out what this and this and this is, not in great detail, not eloquently, but because I have this structure, this guide, this map, I know where I need to go next in order to keep moving forward. That's your basic spine of your storytelling. Story structure also involves pace, and it does involve mood and setting up scenes to have certain impacts, but we'll go through that at another time more in depth. But I hope at least having this and what I'm going to leave you in the comments, it's a beat sheet. I'm hoping that that information will help you write a better story because you'll have a better idea of the structure you're trying to build. Take care.